Okay. I think we're good to go.
Yep, looks like it.
Okay. Alicia, first of all, thank you so much for
Thanks
taking
for
the
inviting
time
me.
to share a little bit about your doTERRA journey, your doTERRA story, to inspire, brand new wellness advocates, people who maybe are just considering for the first time watching this video, building a doTERRA business, or those who have been building for a while and they just are ready for a new phase in their business, some new energy and momentum. And so, anyway, we're just so grateful to have you here and to hear a little bit about your story. So, thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking.
Yeah. Alicia is a blue diamond in doTERRA. And how long have you been building, Alicia?
Almost 9 years.
Okay, same as us.
Time watching this video.
Oh, there we go.
Cool.
Awesome. So the first question that I wanted to ask you is, how did doTERRA find you, and what made you, like, after finding doTERRA, what made you decide to start building?
Well, it's kind of funny because the person that told me about doTERRA wasn't even in doTERRA. I had a lot of health issues, and I had been seeing doctors for 10 or so years trying to figure out what was wrong with me, different medications and different diagnosis, um and nothing worked. Actually, a lot of the stuff that they tried made me more sick, and I got to the point where I felt like I was at rock bottom, like my breaking point. And my coworker was like, I've heard about essential oils. Have you tried using them? And I was like, no, no, thanks. Essential oils are not going to work for me. Thanks. I'm seeing different specialists and stuff. And she just, gently put a little pamphlet that she'd received on my desk and said, you know what? If you decide to look at it here, you can have this. I got it at a class recently. You can keep it. And it sat on my desk for 2 months, maybe. And I got to the point where I was so desperate, I was willing to try anything. And so I just started looking through this book, and seeing all of the different things that I could use oils for. And I was like, oh, I could use oils for this and this. I had no idea you could use oils for this. I'd used oils my whole life from just a local natural store. We used them in the sauna, and I actually didn't like them. But still, I was like, okay, I'm so desperate. I'm willing to give it a try. I sat down and researched about doTERRA on the internet, because back then you could find all kinds of really good stuff all over the place. And listening to different people's stories, looking at YouTube things. I must have sat down for hours, and I was convinced I've got to try these oils. So I actually had to seek out somebody to let me enroll with them. I asked 3 people before somebody would let me enroll with them. I had to put it out on Facebook, like, who uses doTERRA? And the first person that commented, I was like, great, let's do this. Let me sign up with you. I ordered what's basically like the Natural Solutions kit. Back then it was a premium essentials or something.
Yeah.
So it was a big kit, and I'd never tried the oils. But all the research I read online, I was like, this is going to work. This is going to work. I had like big belief that it was going to work. And right when it arrived, I was having some major digestive issues. And I grabbed the digestant. It was the first thing I tried, put a drop in my water. And it was the first time I didn't have discomfort in as long as I could remember.
Wow.
That one drop was enough that I was like, this stuff really works. And then with every oil in the kit, I was like, this isn't going to work. That skepticism coming back. I'm like, this one's not going to get rid of that awful smell, or this one's not going to help me with sleeping better. They're not going to work. And every single oil surprised me. Yeah. So I called my husband. He was working in the oil field at the time. And I was like, you're not going to believe this stuff and how amazing it is. And he was like, that's great, babe. That's awesome. I'm so glad you found something that worked for you. But it was so much more. It was like, why in the 10 years that I've been looking for something had nobody said anything about these? Mm-hmm. Why when everybody knows what's going on with me, because I'm probably a chronic oversharer. I tell people way too many things that, most people wouldn't tell them. Why did nobody say anything about these? Why did nobody tell me about natural solutions? Why was everybody encouraging me to go to these doctors that weren't helping me? And it took a couple of days for me to realize people need these oils. People
Mm.
need to know there's a solution. People need to know they don't have to have all of these side effects. This has to get out. So I took my entire kit with me everywhere I went. And
Wow.
anytime somebody said that they had discomfort in their head or they weren't feeling too great, I'm like, hey, let's see what's in my oil box. Let's see what we can do for you. And I had a book that I got and I would just look it up with them. I had no idea what I was doing. The first person that I enrolled, I was just like, hey, you got to check this stuff out. Let's go have coffee. And she's like, are there oils for this? I'm like, I don't know. Let's look it up. Let's try all these things. Let's look up and see what they're good for. I had no idea what I was doing. But the thing it was as I learned, I was sharing with those around me. And anytime somebody said anything, I'm like, hey, you've got to try this stuff. Because I didn't want to be the friend that never told them about how to deal with their issues.
Yeah.
Because I was upset that none of my friends who used oils or who used natural things never said anything to me. And I didn't want to be that one that didn't tell them. So I would obnoxiously tell everybody I was using oils and I smelled like oils. They just emanated off of me. And it wasn't hard to help my friends get started in doTERRA because of that. But also I had this stigma about MLMs kind of.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not a salesperson.
Mm.
I don't like taking money from people. I think I might have some sort of like money block there where I don't like taking their money. It is really hard for me. I give away more than I am willing to let somebody pay me for something.
Hmm.
And the way that doTERRA works, where all of my friends can get the oils for the same price as me, I was like, yes, everybody needs these and everybody needs to get them at a discount. So I'm not selling retail to anybody. And I didn't. I just made it my mission to show everybody how powerful they could be, even when they made me cry, because they would tell me like that I was crazy. I mean, my husband probably made me cry more than anybody else. He was like, Lish, these oils aren't going to work for my stuff. Like, smell goods are not going to fix me. And I just cried and I was like, I just want to help you feel better. Just let me help you feel better. And because I was persistent, I was like, I just want to bless you. Let me bless you.
Mm.
People saw that it wasn't that I wanted to just take their money. I wasn't trying to be a salesperson. I just wanted to help them to feel better. And so that helped me significantly to grow my business. And it was like a business that got thrown in my lap because I wasn't looking for a new job. I loved my job that I had. And I loved my boss. I loved my coworkers.
What was your job?
I worked for the state of Alaska. So I was a government employee. And I was managing multiple federal grants, like several $1 million worth of federal grants. And it was just what I would have considered my dream job. I thought that I was like in it for the long haul. I thought I was going to maybe run the program someday. And then doTERRA came and I was like, no, this is my dream job. Helping people with oils, helping people with their health is everything that I want to do. I would do it even if I wasn't paid to do it, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's how I knew that I wanted to go down that path.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah.
Some things that really stand out to me is one, it wasn't a business builder who shared it with you, it was a customer.
Yeah.
And that's one of the
So
things that
unique about doTERRA.
people don't understand that about doTERRA and about, because usually, the typical stigma, which you had as well, of network marketing in part exists because people are trying to shove a business opportunity down other people's throats because that's the only way they can get a sale. And our model is just it's so reverse to that, where, like you said, like nobody even had to nobody even had to tell you about the business, and you ended up doing the business.
Right.
And our story is really similar to that. That's super, super powerful. And I'm curious, so one like follow-up question before we move on from this is, like, was it just kind of a natural, organic, as you shared, you got a commission and then you were like, oh, I could share a little bit more? Or was there a moment where you were like, okay, I see the value of this as a business opportunity, and you made that transition?
It took a long time for me to see it as this is my business. I'm doing this as a business.
Mm.
Actually, when I started getting those checks, and I realized, oh, this is going to pay for my oil habit. I
Mm,
can get all the oils and I can give away all the oils, because that I was giving away so many oils.
Mm.
Like, how am I going to be able to finance this? My husband's like seeing this as the typical hobby, like, oh, you're going to spend more than you make. And
yeah.
I was spending a lot, because anytime somebody had an ailment, I'm like, here, take my bottle. Just take it. I don't need it. I'll get another one. And I saw it as, if I can make money at this, I can give oils to everybody, you
Mm,
know? And then it was, I don't, must have been several months into it where I actually earned the incentive trip in my first few months of being in doTERRA. I,
Whoa.
I mean, I'd been in doTERRA for like 3 months, and I went on the cruise. I didn't know who anybody was. I'm like, who's this Dave Sterling person everybody keeps talking about? And why is he so special? I didn't know anything. And it might have been on that trip that I was like, you know what? I want to do this. I
Wow.
don't I don't want to be a government employee. I want to do this. I want to get paid to help people, because why not? So it was kind of a natural progression of things, but initially I just wanted to be able to give oils away to everybody.
Wow. I love hearing that aspect of your story because I think so many people are trying to figure out like what is the secret? Like what is it that makes you different that sets you apart? And we want to talk more about this later in our interview, but um there's subtle things that make someone a leader that nobody really talks about or thinks about, and one of those things I really believe is that abundance mentality, that generosity, that willingness to
Give,
just
give, give.
and give without like counting how much is coming back. And I've seen that time and time again of people who have reached levels of success. They were willing to give and not like ask when is this going to come back to me. And I've seen a lot of builders who were nervous to invest in their business or nervous to do a little bit more, and those are the people that either didn't grow very quickly or wasn't able to make it work for them. So I
It's
think
true.
that is a really excellent part of your story that I'm excited that you shared with everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now you're a Blue Diamond, and you told us before this call you hit Blue Diamond in 2020. So like mid chaos, businesses failing right and left all around the world, and you had your best year like in your doTERRA experience. So a couple things is like as a Blue Diamond, this is like it's the dream, right? That's like Blue Diamond, Diamond, Blue Diamond, Presidential Diamond. Like this is what people dream of achieving. And I'm curious, like what sets you apart? Because other people they started at the exact same time as you did, and they either gave up or they haven't had the same results as you. I know you're going to say that you're like a normal human, you're not an extraterrestrial, but something does make you different, or at least something about what you did was different to help you get the results that you've had. And so I'm curious, what is that difference? What makes you special?
Well, yes, I'm just totally normal. I'm a mom. There's nothing super special about me. I do think that it has a lot to do with my belief in the company and in the product, to be completely honest, because and I do believe strongly that doTERRA is a legacy company, that they are here to stay and they're in for the long haul. I had my husband said a lot along the way that, oh, well, doTERRA could just implode. doTERRA could go away. doTERRA could do all of these things. They could run out of oils. They could mismanage, whatever, because he's kind of like, he looks at all the risks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, anybody could, any business could implode, any job could end, and anything could happen. But I'm in it for the long haul. As long as doTERRA is there and willing to go, I'm willing to run with them. What was really powerful for me, so I hit Diamond very quickly, almost exactly 2 years after enrolling. And that was amazing. But also on the day I hit Diamond, I also found out I was pregnant with my first child, which was amazing because we had struggled for a long time to have babies. So that was a huge blessing. And what I loved is that I worked so hard my first 2 years. I did Diamond Club. Diamond Club launched me from gold to diamond all within like a 10-month period. And so I was traveling all over the country to connect with my team because I want to be in person with them. None of this, no offense, Matt, but none of this Zoom stuff. Like I want to be with people. I want to hug them. I want to put oils on them. So I did for my first 2 years. Then when I got pregnant, that was my dream. I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. One of the reasons I chose doTERRA as a business was so that I could someday, because I wanted to be able to have the freedom to homeschool my kids if I wanted to. So I felt like my world was totally flipped upside down when I got pregnant because I didn't think that I was going to have kids. I didn't think I was going to be able to. And so when we did, my focus changed to family. My husband said, I want you to focus on the kids. I want you to be present. I want you to be a mom. And I had my kids back to back. So for 4-5 years, I felt like it was in mom zone, and I didn't know how to do doTERRA at the same intensity that I had done before. And so I coasted. I was diamond for 6 years, 6 or 6, something around there. And what improved my belief in the company and in the business opportunity was that even though I was in mom mode and barely showing up for my business, not like I was before, not traveling, my income increased every year and my income was consistent. I could be breastfeeding for 24/7 and not even answering my phone or being aware of the outside world, and I still got paid.
Wow.
And so I saw that as me being, wow, I'm not really showing up for work right now. And it's still coming in. That residual income where I worked my tail off for 2 years is providing for my family, paying for my mortgage while I'm being mom. I'm like, this is amazing. Why would I ever turn away from a company who's going to take care of me like that? From a company that's going to let me take my babies to convention and provide me with a room to nurse them in and always be okay with them being at corporate events. I mean, why in the world would I turn away from a company that's going to support me, support my family, and do everything they can to help keep us together and to live our dreams? So having that belief in a company that's going to back me and support me and do everything that they can for me, I feel like I'm going to do everything I can for them. So even when I have to step back and take time for my family or deal with anything, any kind of drama that I have to deal with, I can always come back to my business. And so that's what keeps me coming back, that even when things are hard, or when my team is having some hard times, it's what the belief in the company, the belief in the product, knowing that the product helped change my life. I want to make sure and still help others to change their lives. I want to help other moms to be able to stay home with their babies. And I want to support a company that's has been there for me for the past 9 years. So even when things are hard, when 2020 hit and things sucked, I mean, we moved into RV full time a week before lockdowns.
Wow.
And we were planning on traveling the world to connect with our team, and everything changed. I had to do Zooms from my RV while my kids are running around behind me or while we had bad internet. And that was really hard. But what actually launched me to hit blue was the Founders 2.0 program. I cried when they announced that. I was like, wow, the original founders love doTERRA and love us so much that they're willing to give up their stake in the company to allow me to be a founder, to allow my downline to be a founder, I was in tears. I was like, there is no company like this. There's so much love, so much community that there is no way I would ever quit a business like this and walk away from a community like this. I don't think that there's anything that could change my mind, honestly.
Wow. Just so for those of you who are watching, if you don't know what the new Founders Club is, if you don't know what she's talking about, like I want you to go to YouTube and type in doTERRA US Founders Club. I've got a video on it. There's a bunch of corporate videos on it, but basically you can earn a percentage, 2%. You can earn a kind of a share in everything that the US does in sales after $1 billion. So they're from 1 billion all the way up to 2 billion. Here in the United States, we've done over $1 billion in sales just in the United States now for 3 or 4 years in a row as a company. And so it's a really incredible opportunity. And so you'll definitely want to learn a little bit more about that for those of you who are curious about what that is. And we were the same way. When they announced it, we were like, oh my goodness. In fact, it's one of the things that brought so much of our attention back to building in the US, because we always had the dream of building in different countries and traveling. Like we're kind of like you, like we'd love to be moving around. And so it's just for those of you who live in the United States, it's an amazing, amazing opportunity right now. So learn more about it.
Mhm.
Okay, so this next question that we want to ask you, everyone that's building a doTERRA business, you talked about this earlier, it's going to go through hard times. You talked about your RV, you talked about how hard of a struggle that was. Not letting that get in the way, right, allows you to achieve. If you could describe, like, I guess when we first started, we committed that we were only allowed to quit on a good day because we knew that there were going to be hard times. And if we allowed ourselves to quit when it was hard, then we'd never go anywhere. But we believed so much in the company, like you said, and so much in the product that we just decided we won't quit unless,
It's probably, I like to joke that it's like our only superpower is that we just never quit.
I know.
but like everyone goes through moments where emotionally, like it makes more sense to quit than to stay. And yet like, I mean, maybe you haven't, but
yeah, because for her, she's describing that there was so much like debt to the company because they did so much for you.
yeah.
But was
But
there a
hard
day?
times.
Yeah, was there a day that you were just like, this doesn't make any sense to keep going. This is so hard. And tell us how you got through that. And
Like what pushed you to keep going on one of the hardest days that you had?
maybe just tell us about that hardest time.
Yeah.
So that's hard because I don't think that I've ever wanted to quit, but I have taken a step back. Like there has been times where I know my limits, where my adrenals are crashing or my marriage or my family needs me to be present. I'd say that was the biggest thing. My husband said that when I'm in the doTERRA zone, I'm like all in.
Yeah.
And he's like, you need to learn a little bit of balance. And so there were times where I felt like I was so in the zone that I was possibly neglecting my family. And there were times where I told my husband, I was like, if you think I need to be done, I'll be done. And that wrecked me. I'm like, oh, I'll quit if you tell me I have to quit. And thank God he never told me I had to quit because, he has strong belief in doTERRA now. But there were times where it was really, really challenging to deal with all of the emotions. I'm a very empathetic person. And so being in a relationship business, if I had builders or downline who weren't happy with me because I didn't teach enough classes for them or they full on quit because of something I didn't do, that's what was hard for me. And it would just break me. Like, is this business worth it if some of my best friends are not going to speak to me anymore because they want no part in it? Or is it is it worth it if my family is going to tell me I'm crazy for quitting my job? Or my husband quit his job last year and now doTERRA is our only income.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to hear your family say that you're being stupid or making foolish decisions. Or I even had a family member tell me what we were doing was unbiblical. And so there's all of these things, these opinions that come at you, and sometimes it felt like it was going to wreck me.
Mhm.
But I mean, to be completely honest, I felt like God brought this into my life for a reason, and nothing has ever shaken it to the point where I thought I was going to quit.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's really rattled me thinking, God, you brought this to me. I know that this is what you want me to be doing. Why am I having so many things come against me right now? And it would just be working through those emotions.
Yeah.
But I realized that what I need to always do is just take a step back from my business, shut off my phone, not get on Facebook. And then there's been times where I haven't logged into my doTERRA account for weeks because I just needed to take a step back. But I always knew I was going to come
Mhm.
back. I was never going to leave. So
Cool.
I actually was thinking about it. I asked my husband, is there a day I ever said I was going to quit doTERRA? He's like, I don't think so.
Belief must be one of your like superpowers, and
It's my number one strength.
oh,
So yeah.
Wow,
there
it's
you go.
beautiful.
That's so powerful.
I
Yeah.
take that back. It's my second. Futuristic is my first strength.
Yeah, those two together,
Mm-hmm.
are really great.
Yeah, you've got a clear vision of where you're going.
I do. Yeah.
Love it. That's so awesome. Cool. So for the next question is kind of a unique question, and the reason why we like to include it is sometimes it's hard for people to wrap their minds around like what the business actually looks like, how it grows. And you can choose if you want to share, but we like to just hear some kind of numbers, like either from, like a time where you realize, wow, like there's all these new people joining my team that I don't know, or like volume that you were like, how is this volume even possible, right? Or incentive, anything like that, numbers wise, that you feel like would be interesting to people. Because and
Yeah.
the reason I like another reason I like this question is I remember when we first got started, like my dream was to log into the back office of a Blue Diamond just to see like what was going on. You know what I mean? To be like, how many new enrollments, like what does the volume look like how many qualifying legs, and so I'm just, anyway, it's kind of a vague question, but anything you want to share in that
Yeah.
regard.
I remember getting my first enrollment, and I would go into the back office and look at my person, and I'm like, I have a person. Look at my one person. And
Yeah.
I was so excited. And I knew who everybody was when I enrolled them for the first several months, maybe the first year. I didn't even have to hover over them on my tree. I knew who they were. I knew their situation. I knew their health concerns. And I had a mild breakdown, possible panic attack, whatever you want to call it, when I didn't know who the people were. I'm like, this is growing really fast. It's like an animal that you can't control. Who are all these people? Didn't know that this line went down this far. And that was hard for me because I'm like, I have to meet these people. I have to know who they are, who I'm taking care of. And that's one of the reasons why I flew around, because I was born and raised in Alaska, lived there my whole life. And I wanted to be able to meet them and know their story. And it must have been around the time where I had about 200 people on my team, where it just started growing and growing and growing and kind of got out of control. It just started to duplicate. And now my team is probably around 8,000 people, somewhere in there. And I've enrolled maybe 200, 250, somewhere in there. And it's crazy to me to think I've only enrolled 200 people. And I don't even know how many people have enrolled and no longer on my team. And 8,000 people, and I hardly know any of them. It's just kind of amazing that it can grow, and I never actually touched all of those people. And it's amazing how that happens. And And I have people that tell me, "Oh, I could never do that. You have so many friends, or you know so many people," because they'll like look to see that I have over 1,000 friends on Facebook or something like that. Like, well, of course you have this huge team because you have all these friends on Facebook. And I'm like, are you kidding? I haven't even enrolled like I've only enrolled the tip of the iceberg of the people that I know. There are so many people that I'm so done hearing me talk about oils, you know? Like
Yeah.
it
Most
it's
will never,
crazy.
most will never join, right?
Yeah. And the majority of my team are customers. And I have to be honest, I don't have a ton of builders. And I think that that's just because we have a culture of educating people as customers. They learn how to use their oils and how to use them really, really well. Like they know how to have them in a routine and use them for long standing issues. So I think that that goes to our retention, because we do a good job of teaching and educating. We don't just do intro to essential oil classes. We look at all the different categories of what people are trying to use oils for and help them to practically figure out how to incorporate it into their daily lives. Um, I think that last year there was a point where my volume hit 400,000 for the first time.
Wow.
And I was like, 400,000. That's just PV. I could buy a house with 400,000 and my team just did it in a month. I was like, holy cow. But it wasn't even that. Every single month when I got to 5,000 way back in the beginning, I was like, $5,000 in oils? I facilitated that. I started that. This is like a
Yeah.
snowball running down a hill that just can't be stopped. And it's so cool is if you don't stop, if you keep sharing, you see that. But you have to realize that, I mean, there's these peaks and valleys all throughout doTERRA. And so there'd be times around Christmas where it would just be mind blowing. And then January and February, I'd
Mhm.
be like, what's going on? Is my life over? If am I done with my doTERRA career? But you have to realize like it happens. Like you just have to go with the flow. And what was powerful for me is to see that the unilevel compensation
Mm,
is gold.
yeah.
And if you build that solid structure, it doesn't matter what kind of placements mistakes you made, where you put people, or anything. But if you just focus on keep going, that that unilevel is going to bless you, and that's going to be your solid, your constant
Mm.
through those peaks and valleys. So if you don't hit rank, there's been months I haven't hit blue diamond. We hit it 3 times and I have not been able to maintain it since, but my unilevel still provides my family's needs. It pays for all of our anything that we need for income wise. And my husband doesn't have to go back to work. So I know that if I just keep going, if I don't stop, and if I trust in the process and trust that that unilevel is going to be there for me, our needs are met. And if I hit blue diamond again, that would be really awesome.
Oh, you will for sure.
Yeah.
Guys, so for those of you who are not familiar with like really familiar with our business model, are you listening to the power of this? Like the fact that you can separate from the amount of hours that you work and how much you earn, right? Through this business model of leverage and impact through people's lives. And like she talked about how for several years she took a step back to be able to take care of her kids, her family, and residual income is just the saying goes that if you really understood residual income, you would walk through walls to get it. And I mean, we just barely bought a duplex, and like we're excited because we're like diversifying our income and whatnot. But when you really look at like the residual cash flow that comes from that and compare it to what you can build in doTERRA, it's really ridiculous. Like the size, the magnitude of what this business can offer is just amazing. So anyway, and it's funny you said the number of 200 because I remember we had a conversation with her uncle at the very beginning of our doTERRA business, and he was like, once you hit 200 people, it's just going to start growing at a rapid pace. And that was our experience as well. So.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to bring up is like we can just feel of the passion that you have and the belief that you have in both the product and the business. And I think there's so many builders that have so much belief in the product. It's just like they will talk to anyone and everyone about the product because they love it so much. Of course, because everyone that, you know, tries the oils, they just immediately have great experiences. And there's so many builders that are hesitant to talk about the business and it doesn't come naturally to them. And they're nervous. When is the right time? Do I do it in all of my classes? You know, am I going to offend this person if I talk to them about the business? And it sounds like because you love both the product and the business so much, you believe in both so much, it sounds like it comes out of you very naturally when you're sharing with other people that you're also talking about the business. So I wanted to ask you, in what times do you always include it in your classes? How important is it to you that everyone that you touch is also learning about the opportunity?
Good question. When I started, I had this major block about talking about the business, and I think that that's one reason why I don't have a lot of true builders, true leaders on my team. I mean, I have a good chunk, but not as many as most people. Because for me, I didn't like to talk about the business because I kind of had that money block that I mentioned earlier, and I wanted people to have the oils. But I had that major shift when I saw my income still came in when I was taking care of my babies. And then even more so last year. What is it? Something like 2.6 or almost 3 million women left the workforce last year. It's a crazy high number.
Yeah.
And as through all the COVID stuff, as I was watching my friends get laid off or not have as many hours or not be able to go to work or had to stay home with their kids to homeschool, I'm, living the dream, traveling all over the country, hanging out at the beach. And I'm like, how selfish am I? How come I am not talking enough about the business? Why am I not having them after every class? Why am I not approaching my friends and saying, I want to help you to do this business? So
Yeah.
I found that when I did, I actually would call up one of my best friends. I called her and I was like, I don't want to do the business with anybody else but you. I want you to be sharing a hotel room with me at convention. I want you to be able to quit your job and to be able to realize your dreams. Will you do this with me? And that was one of the best phone calls I ever made to her.
Mhm.
And also after all of my intro classes, I've changed it a little bit. I don't do it the same way as a lot of builders because I don't focus on the business. I started just telling them from my heart. I'm seeing people losing their jobs. I'm seeing people not being able to make income and feed their families. And I can. I'm not boasting, not trying to brag that my financial needs are met. I want your financial needs to be met like mine are. So if you see yourself doing what I do, if you're passionate about oils, if you're passionate about helping people, I want to show you what I do. And if that's something that you want, let's talk. If not, that's cool. I'll help you with your oils all day long. Let's talk about how to get rid of your digestive issues. I'm all for it. But if you want to get your oils paid for, let's have a conversation. Um, and so I have been putting a couple slides at the end of my intro classes because I've been doing Zooms, and I do a giveaway right at the end of the education portion. And I say, hey, I have something really important I want to talk to you about how to get your oils paid for, or if you're looking for some sort of financial opportunity, stick around, give me 5 or 10 minutes and I'll do another giveaway at the end. So a lot of people just stay for the second giveaway. And
Yeah.
I keep it 5 to 10 minutes and I give them very brief info. And I mean, it hasn't brought in a ton of builders, but at least puts the idea in people's minds.
Yeah.
And for the most part, we have a team of very educated sharers. I have
Mhm.
so many people that just have a couple of enrollments because I strongly believe that everybody can enroll one person. Everybody's got a mom or a sister or a neighbor or a team member who's got some aches going on and could use something for that, So if I show them how they can just help their friends and enroll that one person, it to me is more valuable than having some super awesome builder who's going to be like a influencer on social media. I would
Mhm.
rather have somebody who's close to them and it can help walk them through their oil journey. And that's kind of what our team culture has been.
That's so powerful. And honestly, like if you didn't have that culture, you would probably have half as many people on your team as you do now,
Yeah.
right? Because like people don't realize this, but our business is so much about getting a lot of people to do a little bit to make a big impact in the world. It's not, I mean, yes, you're going to have a few who are going to do this and they're going to decide they want this as their profession or whatever. They're going to put a lot of energy in, but the bulk of the production is done by a lot of people doing a little bit so that they can get their oils paid for, right? Or so because they simply want to share with somebody else who has a need and they want that emotional revenue of sharing the oils. And so that share, that share aspect of our business is it's just magic. And I really think if you didn't have that culture, your team would be half the size that it is now.
Yeah, probably.
That is one thing that we struggled with in the beginning, was not recognizing who our sharers were. We were
Yeah.
kind of all or nothing, thinking, oh, you either are a customer or you're a builder.
Yeah.
And you're like, what you said is exactly right. If we would have put more attention into those people that just wanted to share little bits, maybe they would either have changed and turned into a builder, or that just would have continued to ripple in a very organic, beautiful way. Um, and we didn't really see the growth that we always hoped for until we started to shift that mentality and see there are people that are just going to share and not expect shares. Because really, what we would do is if someone told us that they were like wanting to host a class or share or whatever,
Yeah. We're like,
we're
let's get the
"They're a
launch guide.
builder." We just automatically thought they're a builder.
Yeah.
And there really is a difference. And
Huge
honor
difference.
people where they're at, respect people where they're at, and they will just thrive in that space.
So
I
true.
love that.
Awesome.
All right. So if you were getting started today, what would be your plan to sign up new customers and builders, and what would be your plan of attack?
The exact same thing that I did 9 years ago. It works. Like nothing has changed.
Yeah.
The oils are still the oils, and people still need to put them on the same way, and you still need to show them how to use them. So I don't do well online. Like I have to hire somebody to help me with some of the online stuff because I just can't even wrap my head around it. It gives me anxiety. I have to use a lot of adaptive. If I try to even make a reel on Instagram, like I hate Instagram. And that's not me. I have to be in person with people. So if I were brand new, and the same thing that I tell my new builders is, you have to meet people. You have to hang out with them, get to know them, figure out what their needs are, figure out what is going on with them health wise, like what would change their life. And all you have to do, you don't have to push oils on people. You don't have to like shove it down their throats. You just have to use them. I mean, when you have some discomfort in your head and you start using stuff on your temples, people are going to be like, what are you doing? It's the same as it used to be. And then you just say, oh, this is what I use. We want to try it out. Here, smell it. Here, try it. Oh, your kid has the sniffles. Let's try this. We try to overcomplicate things and do all the systems, and really it's like Boyd Truman says, keep the main thing the main thing. The oils are the main thing. Focus on the oils, focus on how to use them, and teach people how to use them. So if I had someone that's like, I don't know anybody, or I'm not good with social media, I'm like, okay, good. Go meet somebody. Like, go volunteer somewhere. Go get a part-time job. Go and meet your neighbors. Get off your phone and stop watching Netflix and just go meet people. There's nothing different.
Yeah. Stop the scroll. And so many people, they feel like, and part of it is that there's a lot of people who like sell courses and blah, blah, blah. And so there's a lot of messaging out there of like, hey, just post on your social media. And I'm not like, we've enrolled a lot of people through social media, but at the end of the day, that it's not like posting that gets you results. Like you have to get oils on humans, right? Like you have to give people experiences. And
And I think there were a lot of, like, in the middle, like maybe 4 or 5, maybe 4 years ago, there were a lot of people that were kind of internet sensations, and they
yeah,
really grew very quickly because they had internet followings, and they, had success that way. I think a lot of people started to believe I have to do it that way if I want to have success.
yeah,
And so it's so important for people to hear this story, that it is like, that is what is important. It's getting the oils on people. And that's the way most people are having success, is just the one-on-ones, talking to the people that meeting new people, creating those relationships and maintaining those relationships.
I've found, I know this doesn't go for everybody, but I
mhm,
found that a lot of the people that have built online, they complain about not having retention. Or there
Yep.
was one person who made a comment about how he's only met 10% of his team.
mm.
And he was like, how do you all have such great retention? What do you suggest I do? And I was like, go meet your team? I mean, like, you've only met 10% of them?
Go be a
I
servant.
mean, now at this point, it's kind of hard to meet 10%, but he's like, I don't even know who they are. If
Yeah.
you're not invested in your team's lives, if you're not like actually helping them to use their oils and use them well, and you're only focusing on bringing in new enrollments, you're never going to get anywhere. It's going to be constant. You have to be on all the time. You're not going to experience that residual income, because in your mind, this is a lead generation business. I had a real estate agent tell me the other day, well, Alicia, the doTERRA is just like real estate. It's a lead generation business. And I was like, how much do you know about doTERRA? It's not really, because I was a big enroller in the beginning. Like, I enrolled all of my circle, but
Right,
now, I mean, I get excited if I get one enrollment a month,
right.
because I'm not focusing on getting new leads. I'm focusing on making sure that my team is well taken care of, and that they are doing well with their oils, and that there's not oil sitting on their shelf collecting dust. So I try to help people get out of that mindset of being an online influencer. You want to know how I use social media? People post way too much information on social media. Like, what they've had for breakfast, when they've got an upset stomach, when their kid's hurling, use that. If your kid's friend from school or whatnot, they're talking about them bending over the porcelain throne all night long, or they had to go to the ER in the middle of the night, go across town and give them some oils. Like, that's how I use social media. Oh, I see that you're sick. Can I bring you something? It wasn't me blasting everything that I do all day long and posting really embarrassing stories on social media. It's
Where
investing in other people's lives and figuring out how they have a need. How can I meet that need? How can I be a service provider? How can I help them to accomplish something, or to help um, bless them in some way? It's a huge mindset change, shift, whatever you want to call it.
I love that. One of the things, guys, is like, as you listen to what she's saying, like she's not posting and waiting, right? Like this, you need to go out and serve people. You need to chase service, like find ways that you can help people. And that's how you build momentum. Like it all comes down to how many experiences are you giving people, and how many conversations are you having, and then how many in those conversations, how many times are you inviting people to take a deeper look, right?
Mhm.
um, it's not about, oh, I posted 14 times to Facebook this week, check, right? Like
And it's not to
that's not
say
to say
that,
that's not a good thing to
yeah,
do.
it's not to say that creating content and sharing things isn't also valuable.
Mhm.
Um, there are just so many people that are thinking that's all that they need to do, and then they're not having any success.
Yeah,
And so if you are great at creating content and you love it, you can do that, but make sure that you're not forgetting the most important piece, which is what Alicia's talking about, that connection.
That's a
That,
good point, Shantae. Now I create content
Sure.
because people ask me about things. What caused my chronic illness was my root canal. And so people ask me all the time, tell me about root canals. Tell me why they're toxic. Tell me why they're bad. What's the alternative? And so people ask me questions about stuff like that. So I create content to educate them on how I have discovered what was making me sick, how I've used oils to combat things that were problems in my life. And honestly, like I said, I'm a chronic oversharer. I'm totally fine with being like, guys, I got this test done and it was so gross. Guess what's in my gut right now? And guess how I'm going to get rid of it? And so that's the kind of content I put out there. I'm making myself vulnerable and saying, oh, I've got to lose 50 pounds and this is how I plan to do it. It's not like I get tired of seeing the influencers that look like they have this picture perfect life and everything's beautiful and their house is always put together and their kids have these cute outfits. And I'm like, that's not me. So I know that when I put all of my hot mess out there on social media, that the people that are gonna, that are gonna come towards me are people that resonate with what I have to say. It's gonna be other hot mess mamas that, don't have their life together and are never on time. And they want to know how they can do what I do because they see, oh, she's a mess. I'm a mess. We can be friends, So I do still put content out there. And I do think that that's important,
Sure.
but you don't have to do it in the beginning. It's not like you have to have your whole, brand packaged together and be beautiful and have everything figured out. That's not me. And everybody's going to do it in their own unique way,
I love that. I love that so much. And it's like, tell stories, take people on your journey. Don't try to just, post and hope that they come. So
Right.
I love it. Okay. We've already kept you for an hour. So we're going to wrap this up with just like maybe one or two more questions. I'm curious, like, what now? So, I mean, you've reached Blue Diamond. Again, this is
people's dreams.
a lot
You've
of
basically
people.
arrived.
Yeah, they get to Diamond and they retire, right? And like you've chosen to go all the way to Blue Diamond. What's kind of your vision of the future with doTERRA? You can talk about like doTERRA in general, or like some of your goals. But I'm just curious, what's next for you?
So what keeps me going, because I've gotten to the point where I could coast here. I could be totally fine. Our finances are taken care of. Like, we don't want for anything. But I still want to see my leaders to reach their goals and their dreams. But to be honest, even if I ignore that and pretend that I'm only doing it by myself, I want to be able to give more. That even though I give away so many oils, I want to be able to give even more. So if my church, they're busting at the seams and they need a new building. If I want to be able to just write a check and be like, here, go buy a building, or if I have a friend who is going through some hard times, lost a job, or a spouse dies, I want to be able to just write a check and be like, pay your bills, pay off your mortgage, get whatever you need. And I'm not at that point yet. We are taken care of. My kids are taken care of, and we've been able to realize our dreams, but I want to be able to help fulfill others' dreams. I want to be able to give freely and not have to worry about my family being taken care of. And so when I look at the compensation plan, I have to admit, when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, I don't need to be a blue diamond. I never want to be a blue diamond or a presidential diamond. Nobody needs to make that amount of money. That's just crazy. And I got to this point where I'm thinking, what could I do with that money? Who could I bless? Could I fund a missionary to go to a country that I don't want to go to, because that's not my calling. But I could do that if I wanted to buy them a new car. And so it's those kinds of things where I see a need and I want to be able to meet a financial need that keeps me going. to the point where if I make ridiculous amounts of money, that would be awesome because I can just bless more people.
Mm.
And so I don't have like one particular foundation or charity that I feel passionate about. I just want to be able to give freely when and if I want to.
Mm.
And and so that is one of my motivators, but also I want to just I still am operating off my original why. I don't want people to be in pain like I was in pain. There my you asked it, you had sent me a question about who was my last enrollment,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I actually did a vendor show just the past 2 days, and I haven't done a vendor show in years, but I felt like getting back to like the original, what it was like when I first started doing doTERRA, and it lit me up. And
Wow.
the last people that came to my booth was a family that just looked really skeptical and standoffish, like they didn't even come in the booth. And the mom said, "Do you have anything for head tension?" My son had a bug, the bug that's going around,
Yeah.
5 months ago, and his head tension has not gone away in 5 months. He has been hurting for 5 months. Is there anything you can do for him? So he started asking more questions and figuring out what was going on. And I said, "You know what? I really think your head's all gunked up. I think you've got some dried mucus, some dried stuff that's all up in your nasal cavity. Can I try a few things? Is it okay if I put oils on you?" And I did. I had him put oils in his hands, and I had him take off his socks and had him put in outside in the vendor booth, put oils on his feet, had him put them on his chest. And I was like, "How do you feel?" He goes, I can't feel the head tension. It's not tight in there." And we're all like, "Are you serious?" His parents are like, "You're joking, right?" He's like, "No, no, I don't feel it." And I was like, "That's awesome. Have you guys checked out the rest of the market? Why don't you walk around a little bit and then come back and tell me if it's gone still or if we need to try something else. So we'll try something else." And
Wow.
they came back. They were the very last ones as I'm packing up. And he's smiling. He's standing up straight. And his dad like looked like he was almost going to cry. He said, "I haven't seen my son smile in 5 months."
Wow.
And I was like, this is why I do what I do.
Mm.
And I've been feeling a little funky this year. Like, this has been hard. It's been a hard year to connect with people. And I was like, this was all worth it. The whole weekend of hauling stuff into this vendor market, this is why I do what I do. So that that kid didn't have to be hurting. And he felt some relief after 5 months.
Wow.
And so that's my original why, because I was hurting and nobody was there to help me. And I still want to be the person that's there to help somebody. So no matter what happens, no matter how much money I make, no matter what comes against me, that still keeps me going. And and if I can also give freely, if I can give away oils, if I can give away my income, whatever, like this blesses me more than anything I've ever done in my life. So I don't ever plan to stop. And I feel like I align with doTERRA's vision of having an oil, a healer in every home. Like, yes, let's do that. Let's like doTERRAize the world and make sure everybody has oils. Like that's what I want. That's my dream.
Wow.
Wow, Alicia, this has been such a powerful, powerful, inspiring interview. We're so grateful for your passion, for your testimony of the oils, and just for your love for the world and for everything that you've done. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're a treasure to doTERRA. You're a treasure to your community. I mean, I'm sure your team is obsessed with you, and now we are too. So
Yeah,
Oh, thanks, guys.
thank you for sharing your story. It's so inspiring.
thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um,
For those of you who are watching this live stream, we're going to be doing more of these interviews with more inspiring people, and we just want to light a fire under you and encourage you to follow Alicia's example and share from your heart, share passionately the oils with the people that you love, whether you are a customer today or you're already a builder, maybe you're already a leader within the company. But the biggest thing is that you don't keep what you have only for yourself, right? Anything that's good in our life, I believe we have received because we're meant to give it back out to the world. So that would be our message for you this day. And once again, Alicia, thank you so much for taking the time. We're so grateful.